It's better if you can go for cadet, because then you, from day one, you will be trained for specific airline requirements.
They are very careful, or they're extra worried, not very careful, extra worried about failures they're going to encounter, and they're very scared.
So how can you improve it? How can you cross check, or how can you make sure that it doesn't happen to you? And he makes sure that there is nothing else which is missed.
Right.
That's the reason why we have two pilot cockpit. You will make mistakes. Like in aviation, if you specifically talk about, there is very, I would say, negligible margin for error. So they keep telling us, okay, these are the kind of mistakes people are doing.
Failures in aviation have dire consequences.
Yes. There's so much of money, there's so much of time spent on you before you go on actual aircraft. So you have to trust yourself that, okay, there's nothing wrong with you. One day you can make a mistake. Anybody
Yeah,
can
to
make a
err is
mistake.
to be human.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you are trained enough.
Would you agree with me if I say that there's a lack of mentorship in aviation today?
The basic procedure, SOPs, that is something that you should, you should have it.
Okay.
Nothing. Just I would say is just be open in aviation. That's what, always open to be learning. The reason why you're a student is because you don't know something. Can you go look into the eyes of the passenger and say, I've risked your life for a thrill,
I have risked your life for a thrill.
for a thrill of mine?
Welcome back to Golden Epaulettes Aviation by Pilots for Pilots. My name is Ronak, and this is part 2 in conversation with Captain Mahesh Kaushik. Captain?
Yeah.
So, Captain, there's this one question I have it's been lingering. A lot of students I meet these days, they are very careful, or they're extra worried, not very careful, extra worried about failures they're going to encounter, and they're very scared.
Failures, like when you're flying or in anywhere in the life also, you will make mistakes. Like in aviation, if you specifically talk about, there is very, I would say, negligible margin for error.
Right.
So
इसलिए सब worried घूमते
yeah.
हैं.
So this very means you are not expected to make mistakes, but if somebody else make it, or if you have made a very small mistake somewhere, learn from it.
Okay.
That always good to know that, okay, we are in safety also, we discuss a lot of when we do safety classes and all.
Flight
We
safety.
discuss flight safety classes. Or even not just classes also, the journal flight safety is about publishing the mistakes that are done by other people.
Okay.
So they keep telling us, okay, these are the kind of mistakes people are doing,
Okay.
and what is to learn from it.
Okay.
So that is the idea of a mistake, or in the error in the aviation. That, okay, if there's an error done, you should don't overthink about it. But yes, you should learn from it. That, okay, this is a mistake which I've done once, and now, or somebody else has done. So how can you improve it? How can you cross check, or how can you make sure that it doesn't happen to you?
Okay. So, another question being, when you've made a mistake, like you said, don't overthink it and everything, but the consequences, talking of consequences, failures in aviation have dire consequences.
Yes.
How do
that's
you
why.
get over that fear when you go for flying every day?
If you won't do it, then how do you get over it? You have to fly, and you have to try the thing again.
Is it something you
Otherwise-
tell yourself, a part of your self-talk?
Yes, like in aviation, there is so much of training that we do, that for everything you have to understand, you have been trained enough, and means the amount of training that goes into aviation, there's so much of money, there's so much of time spent on you before you go on actual aircraft. So the system has trusted you, the system has trained you, so you have to trust yourself that, okay, there's nothing wrong with you. One day you can make a mistake. Anybody
Yeah,
can
to
make a
err is
mistake.
to be human.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you are trained enough by the people, by the company, everybody, that you are fit for the job.
It's sort of ingrained in you.
Yes,
That
it
you
is ingrained
don't.
in you.
Yeah, okay. And is it true, like, for example, I was once reading something about it that this particular pilot made a mistake on something while landing. And he said that from there on, whenever for the next 6 months,
Yes.
he was making a landing, he was, according to the checklist or SOP, he was just supposed to check that button, or let's say that knob,
Yeah,
once.
that's a normal habit, that you keep cross-checking it again and again and again till the time it gets into your system that okay, now I am doing this thing normally, regularly.
So after you make a mistake, आप अपने error को double check
Double
भी
check.
कर सकते हो और
बिल्कुल,
triple
बिल्कुल.
check भी
Yes,
कर सकते
yes,
हो.
yes.
So
Aviation, I think, anyways, in aviation, the checklist and the SOPs are designed in such a way. That's the reason why I think we have two pilots in the cockpit.
yeah,
One guy does an action, other guy checks it.
pilot flying, pilot
Flying,
monitoring.
pilot monitoring.
Yeah.
The other guy is, and if somebody's focused on one thing, the other guy overlooks, or not overlook, basically, he looks at the other perspective and he makes sure that there is nothing else which is missed.
Right.
That's the reason why we have two pilot cockpit.
Right. Also, would you agree with me if I say that there's a lack of mentorship in aviation today?
Yes, there is a lot of.
And what is
not
your
just-
part? Sorry
not
if I
just-
interrupted you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
That's
But what is your part? I'm intrigued to know. What is that you do, jo helps, which is like giving back to the industry?
Yes, basically, I have when I became a trainer, the idea of it is that somebody have taught me, somebody have trained me, somebody have given me the knowledge to become a better pilot. So I want to, somebody have given his time and everything to me so that I become a better pilot. Now I want to do the same thing for other people.
Right.
So I want,
It's a very noble thought.
yeah, otherwise means basically somewhere, because in aviation industry there is very limited information which is available.
And a lot of misinformation.
And a lot of misinformation which is
Yeah.
available. I have seen ads where people have given such misinformation which is like reality is totally different. People talk about salaries in aviation, you earn so much, and means you can finish your training in such a less time, and there is so much of misinformation. So the correct information is very important.
Right, absolutely.
So that is what we do. Anybody who calls me up or asks me for any information, what I make sure is I give them the correct information
Right.
and guide them properly. That okay, where can if I don't know information, because I'm not expected to know everything.
Yeah.
I guide them to go to correct people. That okay, they will have the information, or
Right.
this is the place where you can get the information from. To
Understood.
guide them that way.
Understood. So personally, what is that you do to?
Personally, I have my nephews, and means my kids and all. I give them as much of information. I'm training them.
So you're mentoring your
I'm
nephews
mentoring
and
them
nieces
to get into the aviation.
and then they are interested in
They
it.
are very much
So you're being a
interested.
very responsible uncle, mama, chacha,
Yes,
uncle, whatever.
yes.
That's very nice of you. And how about, you said something about your kids? Would you want your kids to get into
Yes,
aviation?
definitely.
Yes?
If they want to.
Okay.
Obviously, it's their choice. But yeah, if they want to, once they get older.
I mean,
yes,
you see your
definitely.
kids doing this, what you're
Yes,
doing right
definitely.
now, and you think this is very nice for them
This
to do.
is very nice.
So
It's
you
aviation.
will try and save up and guide them ki by the time they वो 12th cross करे अपना, so you have this set of funds ready, and you,
Yes.
if any of your child wants to fly, you don't refuse it.
I will never.
You
I
will
will
never.
actually encourage them.
You will actually encourage them.
Yes.
That's nice. That's good to know. And you've been in LTC right now. You are on command. मैं आपसे ये भी जानना चाहती हूँ. There are many of our first officers out there watching this video. Newly released first officers, senior first officers, JFOs, and I don't know of the second officers also. Yeah.
Yes.
But the idea here is to ask you, as a commander, when they're paired with you, right? As a first officer, sorry, when they're paired with you. So they sort of either they're happy, they're sad, they're anxious कि हाँ हमें ये pairing पे fly करने को मिल रहा है. What is that you, a person like you, would look for in a new cadet or a new JFO who's entering the airline, that these are the qualities जो आपकी must have है, non-negotiable है?
That is the basic, the understanding, or I would say the basic procedure, SOPs. That is something that you should, you should have it.
Okay. Flows, SOPs.
Flows, SOPs, that is something that you are not expected to make a mistake. Means mistake as in, that is something that you're supposed to know.
Okay.
As in when you get online.
Okay.
Training, yes, training is, you have to remember, training is a phase where you're learning.
They're a lot
So
pressured,
you have
right?
you have to come with that attitude that, okay, you, like when I was in Canada, I'll tell you a small story. When I was in Canada,
Yeah.
so obviously I was also struggling to learn something. So one day I went home and I was staying as a paying guest with some lady. She was about 60 years old. So when I went home, and I was very upset and down and all that. So she came to me, she was like, why are you upset and all this? I've told her that, okay, I've made this mistake, this is not working, this is not. He said, remember, you are a student. The reason why you're a student is because you don't know something. If you knew everything, then you would have not been a student, then you would have been a teacher. So you're a student, you are expected not to know everything.
That's very insightful. And I don't think even every teacher is supposed to
Yes.
know everything. I
Yes.
mean,
So nobody knows everything.
exactly.
So you have to understand that. Okay,
You have to
you're
draw your
there,
line.
You have to
make
draw your line. Yes.
Clear boundaries.
Everything. Like again, sorry, I'm just saying all these things. But during training also, we have been taught that you have to go down to the trainees level to train them. You can't expect the trainee to have a same knowledge or same professionally, basically you have to be same level as you are. So to pick up a trainee, you actually go down to his level, train him based on his level, and then bring him up.
Funny incident I would like to share. I have had a very senior pilot who has mentored me for a bit, and I really look up to him. Him tell me that one of his ULR flights to America, he had to, like you mentioned about going down to the trainees level. So there was something about position going on, right? So this particular senior person went down to the level of explaining that person what latitude and longitudes are
Yes.
in the aircraft, so that he could figure out, and then thereafter he could answer one question, two questions, and finally I think this particular senior captain got the answer out of his trainee.
Yes.
So I was very surprising for me that latitude and longitude teaching is happening on a ULR flight. Just imagine.
Yes.
So आपके साथ भी ऐसा हुआ है?
Yeah, lot of times.
मतलब उतना breakdown.
You have to go down to.
और आप गुस्सा भी नहीं कर सकते.
नहीं, you can't. Basically, again, that's what I'm saying now, because you don't expect them to know everything.
फिर गुस्सा आता भी नहीं है या आपका control अच्छा है?
I would say once you become a trainer, your patience level increases.
Okay.
Because otherwise, if you are not patient enough, then you'll not be able to teach.
Patience is a prerequisite.
Patience is a prerequisite. Means basically you have to have patience. Because again, same, everything and everybody is not at the same level.
Right. And I'm so proud, and I have, in a way, your niece and nephews are watching out there, and obviously your kids, they'll watch this someday. I think I'm so proud that there's somebody like you, very honest, very grounded, to mentor them. And you have this calm, you have this aura of calm, that theek hai, mistake hai and everything.
Yes.
Like, given a chance, you ask anyone, I think in our audience, they would love to fly with a, P1 like you. So this is something, it's a compliment. It's a
Thank you.
huge compliment, yeah. But I am very happy to see, I am very content to see that how you're giving back to the society, your society being aviation here.
Yes.
By mentoring, whatever the word is, and by, taking care and laying down the path and keeping abreast yourself also with the information. So all that, being here on GE and the podcast and the students you've met outside and the way you've guided them. So yes, absolutely, absolutely grateful for that. Anything, any interesting point, or before we end this podcast, of your journey you would like to add? Any pivotal point of your journey if you can think of?
Uh,
It's been quite a long journey since 2002.
yes.
Two
Long
decades,
journey.
over 2 decades.
Almost.
Yeah. Nay, almost nay.
Yeah, sorry.
Over two
Over
decades, 22
now.
years,
Yes. Nothing. Just I would say is just be open in aviation. That's what, always open to be learning. Don't
Right.
think that okay, you know everything.
You're not an, you know it all.
You
Yeah.
know it all. Don't be that. Means aviation is anyways, aviation every day is evolving so much. Things are changing so much.
Yes.
When we started flying places like Indore, Varanasi, we used to be only one in the skies. Now there is so much of traffic and so much of things like, so aviation industry, especially in India, is booming up and it's evolving a lot.
Right. So for people who are looking at the job prospects out there and conventional versus cadet questions, what do you recommend to them?
Yes, first choice is obviously I would say if you have finances, because cadet program is a little expensive.
It's around 1 CR.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's better if you can go for cadet, because then you, from day one, you will be trained for specific airline requirements.
Your training also
Training-
will be in accordance to their SOPs.
Their SOPs, their requirements, what they want from you, your training will be according to that. Whereas if you go conventional way, then your training is just for the basic CPL and basic of the flying that you learn, yes. Then when you join the airline, then within a short span, you have to learn the airline procedures.
Right. You train
So-
a certain way.
Yes.
You learn the airline procedures a certain way, and
Yes.
then you execute them
Execute
a
in
certain way.
way.
So there's a lot of knowledge gap
Yes,
there. Knowledge
yes.
gap bhi nahi, procedural.
Procedurally,
yeah,
basically,
yeah.
the procedures are different.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
for the Airbus, if you talk about when you go for your self-sponsor training, the self-sponsor training, the type ratings, what they call. In self-sponsor type rating, they tell you about the journal. Okay,
Right.
generally this is how a maneuver is done. But airlines sometimes have a different procedure.
Right. A further
of
limitation
that
imposed.
further limitation, or they do some checks before doing that particular exercise or something. So Airbus, it gives you a journal guideline. Airbus gives you a journal SOPs. A lot of airlines, they change. They can't obviously go more lenient. They become a little more strict or stringent.
I agree. I
And
understand.
then they follow their procedures.
Right.
So once you go for the training or a type rating with a particular airline, then from day one you're learning that.
Right. So it's better if
It's
you have the
better,
finances
it's-
in place.
Yes. So for the airline also, it is basically a lesser, or personally also a lesser time consuming.
Understood. And any, like, my question still stands. Any like this moment you just shared with us, that when
Yes.
this lady, your
Yes.
landlord
Yes.
or your paying guest lady, she told you that you're a student and you're not supposed to. ऐसा कुछ कभी कुछ और क्लिक हुआ था, किसी ने आपको कुछ बोला था जो आपको याद रहेगा या आपके जहन में है, and you
there are
follow
lot of-
it?
There are a lot of things. Lot
Would
of
you like to
things.
quote a few?
One of the things a guy told me is like people over here in aviation, sometimes pilots do a lot of things which are what do you call, a macho attitude. That okay, I have done raw data flying, I have done raw data flying in such a situation, and matlab, I have gone so close to the this thing cloud and I have escaped. It's not a very good thing. Somebody told me that okay, one of the captains was like, okay, one, you do something like this, you risk life of a passenger who's paying you to take him from one point to another point safely. Safety is the most important thing that in aviation is required. So you're getting paid to take somebody from point A to point B as safe as possible.
Right.
So when you do something like this, and if you make a mistake, can you go look into the eyes of the passenger and say, I have risked your life for a thrill,
I have risked your life for a thrill.
for a thrill of mine? Because this is just thrill that you're going close to cloud, so close to the cloud, and this
Yep.
is just for the thrill.
Yeah, this is so profound.
You're not achieving anything out of it.
Yeah, this is so profound.
So can you go and look into somebody's eyes and say, okay, I've done this, I've made such a mistake for my thrill, I've risked your life for my thrill.
Right.
And if you can't do that, don't do it.
Wow. Wow. Indeed. Indeed. This hits really deep.
Yes.
That does. Well, I think that's all about we have for you. Enough of questioning. And thank you so much,
Thank you.
sir,
Thank
for
you
being
for-
on board. And hope you had a good conversation. Hope you
Yes.
had a good interaction with the students as well.
Yes, enjoy it.
Thank you so much. Well, this was Captain Mahesh Kaushik, and we had a lovely and a very delightful conversation with him. I, for one, have a lot of points which I want to take away from this conversation, and I'm going to go home and mull over them. If you'd like to be on our podcast, please comment. We'd love to hear your story if you have one. If you liked our podcast, please like, share, comment. It would mean a lot to us. Until next time, this is Ronak for Golden Epaulettes Podcast. By pilots for pilots.